father was very keen to be in business. And the interesting part, when you push some people in life too much, you need to know how much to push. When you over push, the reaction becomes negative. Because you push so hard, I started hating business, literally hating business. And I went the other extreme, where I wanted to be a doctor. And that was influenced by one of my teachers. And he said, you're born as a doctor. Of course, nobody's born as a doctor. And fine, remember, this is 1974. I'm 18 years old. And you know, coming from a middle class family, nobody else to advise you. So I took his advice and applied for the university in Baghdad. I get an admission from Baghdad and from Cairo. It was difficult to get medical college of those two universities, and I got them both. I was very good in my grades. And then my mother influenced me because my father's uncle is Iraqi. He has a family there. So my mother told me, I prefer you go to Iraq, so at least you have somebody to look after you. She was very concerned. So I went to Baghdad. Baghdad has been an amazing experience. It's been an amazing 2 years and few months of my life. Because that family, I cannot forget them all my life. They were so great to me. They were so, sorry, I'm being emotional. They were so generous. My father's uncle was a very poor man selling soup in the one of the little shops in Baghdad. And he had 6 kids, and he and his wife living barely on the basic things. And how they looked after me, the love and the emotion that family gave me was the greatest thing I had. There I was living in a home where they really gave me a lot of attention and care. Of course, in Dubai, my father, my mother loved me, but in Dubai, I didn't have a lot of relations outside my home. And until today, of course, I keep a very, very close relation with their kids and with their grandkids, with the entire family. And Baghdad gave me the independency, my personality to be able to deal with challenges and problems. And of course, then came the failure of the university. My admission came late. I arrived about 2 months late, so I missed a lot. My English was horrible. In the high school, my grades were everything A's except English. Baghdad University, everything was in English. Not a single word was taught by the teachers in Arabic. So really the English language was my main reason for the failure in Baghdad. So the first year I failed. Of course, I tried second year and I failed again. By the way, when I failed second year, a very interesting story, I wanted to try one more year and was absolutely not allowed at the university system around the world. They don't give you 2 chances, they give you 1 chance. And I get the private number of Saddam Hussein, the Iraqi president. And you think if anybody will dare to talk to Saddam, I have done that. That number, he'd answer directly. Somebody gave me that number. He said it's very confidential. So I remember where I was living, in the street there was a barber. And the poor barber did not know what I'm doing. So I worked at the barber shops and I paid 10 fils, which is like, you know, a few cents to use the telephone. So he allowed me his phone, which was of course a normal land phone. And I dialed the number, and exactly within a second, Saddam came person on the line. And he says, Assalamu alaikum. He says, yeah, what can I do for you? And I explained to him my situation. And he says, no, we cannot do anything for you. You have to deal with the university system. And I said, thank you. That night, I had some worry. The security government take me now because they would be tracing where the phone came. But I don't know if have they been able to trace that phone because the landlines were not traceable. So in Baghdad, I had interesting experience. I met some very important people. I was outgoing. It was not for me Dubai, school, home, shop, home. It was the whole world was opened up for me. I traveled, I went to Munich, I bought a car, I brought it to Dubai and sold it. I went again, I bought another car from Berlin, and I had to bring it to Baghdad. I had an accident in the way, and I have to fix the car, and how many problems I have at the borders of Yugoslavia and Romania and Hungary and Bulgaria, all communist countries. I didn't have any visa. When I tell them it's from UAE, they don't know where the UAE is, okay? And apart from the language, they don't know even where your country is. They look at your passport, they cannot read it. And they will not give you visa to those communist countries those days. And I managed to go through all those borders, you know. I went to Beirut in '75, where the bombing was just at the peak of it, in the Civil War, going through all those checkpoints, and God knows why I was reached safe. I think because my mother's prayer. I spent a day in a place called Hayy al-Jama'a. I remember I was standing there and the land was shaking from the bombs, which is happening literally less than a kilometer from where I was standing. So traveling on my own, taking risk, and that failure was a very interesting. First time in my life I failed, and I failed in a big way. I wanted to go to university. I fought with my father for that, and then I'm coming back as a failure. And then he tried to convince me to go back to business, and I become more stubborn. And to be honest, that's in me to a certain extent. When I fail, I become more persistent to try again. Though I have learned in life, you try again once or twice. If it doesn't work, let it go. But to answer your question, Baghdad has been amazing. And I came back to Dubai and was very persistent to continue my education and go to USA. And here I was shocked, where my father fought so much with me to work with him in the shop. And then suddenly one night he calls me and writes me a check and says, go, that's what you want to do, go and do it. But that shows you the true love of parents. No matter what you do to them, they still love you. Now, I shouldn't say this publicly because my kid's going to take it against me, as you know, and they say, oh, we're going to do anything to our father and they're going to love us, of course. But good part, I have grandkids. So 2 of them have kids. So I tell them, whatever you do to me, your kids will do it to you. It's called karma. But and I was shocked, and my mother and my siblings were shocked how he wrote a check to me to go to US and start another journey there.